Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to RawKnux podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And I said, listen, Saturday night, Philadelphia's coming to town, and I'm going to get Dave Brown for you. And he looked at me like, you know, this guy's out of his mind. Anyway, we play the game. Saturday night comes. You and I fight at the Forum. And then when I get traded to the Rangers, I come walking in, and he goes, you are out of your fucking mind, he says. I can't believe you did that. You said you were going to do it, and you did it. It was, I'm telling you.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down, and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious, and I was malicious, and I don't care.
He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town.
Shit. You know what's really nice? Good, good. Say hi to Tim.
Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure.
Stapes is pissed. He wants to know why you didn't fucking draft him in Philadelphia. He's a big, tough player when he played.
Especially, yeah, exactly. No, I was, go ahead. I don't even know what to say
Tim,
to that. That was good, Knux.
Did you play, Tim?
Yeah, I played Winnipeg, and I was in Atlanta for a couple years when then we got sold to Winnipeg. So
Okay.
And then was over in Russia, Europe, most of my career too.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
all the fighting stuff, that's a whole different language to me. So I'll try to.
Well, we'll teach you some things here.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of all that now anyway, isn't
Oh
it?
God, yeah.
You can learn a little bit today, certainly from two guys that didn't shy away from it. But Brownie, awesome to have you, pal. I appreciate it. It's funny when I think back, the fights we had, the number of fights we had. One, two, you know, looking back at those days and what we both went through as players, and then here we are today, and we never met each other except on the ice. And then I got invited to fight night in Philadelphia. And they have it, Tim, every year. They bring down some players from different teams in the NHL that used to go to war with the Flyers. And then they'll show, you know, up on the stage, they got a big screen. They'll show the fights, me and Dave fighting. And then they'll have us come up and talk about it. And the people interact with us. And it was awesome. But I never got to meet Dave until that time. And when we met, I'm looking at him and his best friend, Daryl Stanley, and I'm going, Jesus, these two. And I walk up, I couldn't believe how big both of you were. And I'm like, especially, like, I knew you were tall and big and you were tough. But Stan, honestly, when I was on the ice with him, I didn't think he was as big as he is. When I met him in person, I'm there, holy shit, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
but
he was a big guy, like foreign, very strong too, you know. But he was a big guy. I mean, you always gave up a little bit, some size there, because you know weren't quite as tall as us. I don't know, like I never really played that heavy though. Like I probably played like 210, 215 at the most. But you know, so you probably weren't even that kind of weight.
No, Jesus, Dave, I was 5'11" and a half. 200 pounds.
Oh, I know.
I weighed in at, and I'm gonna bring this to you, and I want you to see if you remember this evening. Do you remember this evening?
If you didn't know hockey, you would think that was like in an underground like prison league or something. That's
man, where is that? They have some kind of special edition of that or something?
Well, here's the deal, and I can probably get you one if you want one. On Instagram, there's a guy, his handle is Old Time Table Hockey. And what he does is he creates scenes from the NHL back in the day, and he makes those scenes, he makes little things. And I saw it on Instagram, so I reached out to him. I said, geez, can I get one of them? And he sent it to me. He was nice enough. But I'll set you up with it if you want. Cool. A lot of good memories. So it's good. Yeah. It's good to see you have a shirt on today. I appreciate that.
Hey, you know, that wasn't planned. I mean, I used to go off after the warm up there. I would go off, take my sweater off, and cool down, and just hang out and that. And then when they said we're fighting, so I didn't bother putting it back on.
Well,
and of course, I mean, it was a great advantage because you can hold on to the guy. But I did have that rib belt because I cracked a few ribs earlier in the year, and so I was still wearing that. But yeah, it was a crazy story. I know we didn't start it, but
no, well, for sure,
yeah.
and we're going to get more into that. But first, I certainly want to talk to you about. You grew up in Saskatchewan playing hockey. What led you to hockey? I mean, you grew up on a farm. Your dad worked in the farming industry somewhere, and it seemed like all Saskatchewan guys tough for some reason. You're certainly one of them.
I don't know what. I think it just seemed like. My dad, first of all, was raised on the farm, but he moved into the city. Now we were raised in the city, but we spent a lot of time out at the farm with my uncles and aunts and that. Most of all, we played hockey when we were kids just to have fun. I mean, we weren't fighting and stuff like when we were in, real young. I think the first time we remember getting in a fight was at like midget age. It's probably 14, 15 years old. I got in a fight. I think we didn't like the refereeing and that, and they were running away with the game. And I don't know, some kid said something to me, and I fought. And I can remember my mom was mad because we had to take a bus down there to this place, but she was so mad she went back on the bus and waited till we all get ready to leave. She didn't like that, but that was the first time I can remember ever fighting. I would probably been 14, 15 years old. And then as you get older, it always seemed like that's just the way we played. There was always that toughness factor, even when you're at younger ages, and going up into junior B. I can remember I got kicked off the midget team. I guess it's been 15, 16 years old. And so I didn't know where I was going to play. So I was looking at what they call junior B. And junior B at that time was you were allowed to play with 5 20-year-olds, and everybody else had to be younger than that. And so I went to that team, and I was 16 years old. Like, I gave up 4 years was a lot at that age.
Yeah.
So that's where I learned a lot of lessons about how to take care of yourself. You had to take care of yourself, or you just simply couldn't play. But as far as the fighting aspect, that was just the way we grew up watching hockey. I can remember watching the senior hockey, which would have been, I guess, it'd been men that were playing down at the arena. And they were bare knuckling it. They were fighting hard, and these are guys that would go to work during the day, and then they were just playing hockey at night.
So you'd see that, and then you'd see it certainly. The NHL back then, there was a lot of fighting. 70s, 80s, we know that we played in the 80s. But you go to junior, and again, growing up in hockey, were you always this size? You always the biggest kid out there?
Not really the biggest kid all the time. I was long and slender. I wasn't real heavy.
Thoroughbred.
Thoroughbred. I always had a little bit of a reach advantage anyway.
Yeah, you did. Well, so you started in Spokane with the Flyers and then Saskatoon. Now, how was the junior experience for you? Is that where the fighting really starts to take hold?
Yeah, well, the year before I played the full year in Saskatoon, I went to a junior camp with Billings Bighorns. And I was there for about a month, and then they wanted to send me back down to Yorkton, which was their minor league team. I said I wanted another try, so that's when they sent me to Spokane, and I went and played another month there. But probably one of the things that really stuck out to me the most was that first junior camp I went to with Billings. It was in High River, Alberta. My mom dropped me off after driving.
What a name, High River. High River, Alberta.
High River, and we had training camp at the rink, and they had the bunks up in the one end of the rink, up in the top, and that's where we bunk, and then we had training camp and that. But the eye-opening thing there was, like, the first games you would play, like, I don't know, it was like early in the game, I was skating off the ice after a shift, and a guy sucker punched me, like hit me right here, and I didn't see him. And so, like, he knocked me down my knees, but I grabbed him as I was going down, and I was punching him after, and whatever, the fight was over and that. And that was really like an introduction, the first training camp that I had.
Wake up
and,
call.
Yeah, you realize, like, you got, I mean, guys would play dirty. I mean, they'd sucker you. You had to really pay attention to where you were. And that was a real strong lesson I learned that time. I eventually caught up with that guy the next year.
Which is good.
Take
his number.
In the parking lot with no shirt on. Did you end up ever fighting anybody in juniors that you ended up fighting again in the NHL?
I remember fighting Brian Curran.
Okay. Happy Feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Feet, Brian Curran.
He was with Portland. Who is it? Fought Gord Kluzak.
Yeah.
And that's just a couple guys off the top.
Well, how about the fighting thing? But how about when you were young? Did you watch the NHL? Which team are you a fan of?
I used to like the Bruins. Used to like the Flyers.
Okay, so you're watching the Flyers and the Bruins growing up. When you get to the NHL, was there guys that you kind of looked up to there you ended up fighting, or like, here we go?
Not so much that. I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head. I mean, anybody that like before that,
like an O'Reilly or guys.
No,
I watched up watching O'Reilly, right? And next thing I'm playing the NHL, I'm fighting him and Jonathan. And I'm like,
I know you would fight him well.
Well, that's a good question actually. Is like, because you always get asked like the transition or like the jump from juniors. Like Chris, you came out of college, so there was really no fighting, right? So
none. When
you fought Dave in juniors, was there a big jump to fighting someone like the pro? They're like men now. Did it feel that way to you?
Well, yeah, there's a big difference between fighting in juniors and then fighting. I was lucky enough to play like a year and a half down in the minor leagues in Maine, and that really gets you ready for the NHL. I mean, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to fight in the NHL like that. I mean, that was a process of learning, and I really needed that year and a half down there to be better at what I did. I could never jump to the NHL. I wouldn't.
Right from junior.
And I mean, I didn't even, I didn't know at that time if I was going to play in the NHL. I mean, it's just like a progression. Even when I played juniors, like we played hockey because we had fun. Like we enjoyed it. And that's why we played. I never thought when I played junior hockey that I was ever going to go to the NHL. I think probably when I knew I had a chance is after I finished my first full year in Portland, Maine. I really thought I had a chance to play in the NHL after that. But before that, just played because we had fun and we enjoyed it.
So you play because you have fun. You want to, you get to Maine, you think, oh, now I have a chance. And listen, fighting's the avenue. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
It was for me. I was thinking, I want to come in. I grew up as a kid. I wanted to be Bobby Orr. That didn't happen. But I also like the fact that the Bruins played a tough type of game. I grew up watching that. And I emulated that somewhat. But, did it come natural to you, the fighting part, or did you have to dig inside and say, listen, to do this, one, I know now the NHL is in sight. I'm in Maine. I'm doing this job. It's difficult, but boy, I have an opportunity. I could get to the NHL. Was it natural to you, the fighting part, or did you
have to
dig in?
I always fought pressure back to even when I played junior B. Like you always felt like you were getting tested. And guys were challenging you, and so we fought a lot in junior B. We fought in juniors, and then we fought in the American League. So no, I always felt like I was always getting tested, as if they were tough games. Like and sometimes we were fighting our ways out of some old rinks in Marceline, Saskatchewan. When the fans are grabbing you over the boards and stuff like that. I can remember brawling in Marceline, Saskatchewan. There's a big hole in the roof, and it was so cold the water would freeze on the bench. And we had 13 guys, and we brawled them, and whatever, we cleaned it up afterwards, and they didn't want to come out and play the second period, so we went home.
Well, you probably had half the team scared shit, right? They're like, we ain't going out there. Brownie's out there. But
I was actually a smaller guy at that time because we had, like you said, we had the 20-year-olds, and I was like 16 years old at the time. But I always felt like it was because you were getting tested and you had to fight, because if you didn't stand up, you know what it's like. I mean, you had to stand up for yourself, otherwise they run all over you.
Yeah, and so you got it.
That's what the test
that
is.
makes sense, because I was about to ask, like, did you ever get sick? Like, did you ever not want to do it? But it's like you had no choice. If you're getting, if you're getting tested, you're gonna stand up for yourself. So I mean, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like we were tested all. It seemed like we didn't start it. It was like, well, although maybe sometimes we did. But,
sometimes, come on.
And I always thought,
yeah, you guys are the innocent ones. That's right.
yeah, I won't say. You know what? The reason why you did it is because it's going to help you win the game. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't going to help you win the game, why would you do it? I mean, that's what we were doing it for.
Well, that year in Maine, obviously, and I thought I was a little over the top. My first year, I had played 49 games in Halifax. I had 304 minutes and penalties. You played 71 games in Maine that year, had 418 minutes of penalties, fighting every night probably. Crazy stuff. And then that year get called up 2 games with the Flyers. Now you had 5 minutes and PIMS, and one of those, you must have had one fight. Then you go back to Springfield, and then 83, 84, you get called up the end of the season to the big team. When you get to the Flyers, what's that like? Obviously, that town, Philadelphia, like Boston, they demand a certain type of player. They love the tough guys, the Broad Street Bullies, the big bad Bruins. You come to town, and you're not the only tough guy, but you come there. How were you embraced right away, and how often did you play at the beginning?
Well, I was like selectively played. I only played like 19 games, I think. Obviously, like, we weren't the ones that were the Broad Street Bullies were before us, and we were just guys that came afterwards that trying to keep that level of play. I mean, I love playing in front of the Philly fans. As long as you work your ass off, you play as hard as you can every night. It doesn't matter what happened. They'll support you. It's when you don't compete and you don't play hard that they're going to be all over you. I mean, the Flyers fans still want to see a physical type of game. And because that's what our philosophy is. The Flyers want to be hard to play against. You gotta be at least have some pushback and play hard. You might lose some nights, but you got to be respectable and you got to work hard. And they're still like that. So, I mean, as far as going there, I just I fit in well because I always thought I worked hard and I played tough. So they like that type of hockey.
And you say the Broad Street Bullies, all right, sure, it was in the 70s. I get that. Yeah. But I can tell you it went into the fucking 80s, too, because here's the deal.
Yeah, they didn't just disappear.
I remember going in that building, and this is when I was with the Rangers and with the Habs. But I remember with the Rangers, Michel Bergeron started me in Philly. And I'm like, what the fuck you doing? You want to start shit. He never told me I had to fight or anything. But who's on the ice? RawKnux, Chychrun, Dave Brown, Berube, and Knockbauer. Take your fucking pick, Knuckles. And I'm like, and I'll tell you right now, did I have tight ass? Of course I did. But I said, one thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to wait for one of them to come after me. I'm going to fucking throw that puck in. I'm going after someone. I ended up fighting RawKnux off the top, and then Berube's later. And I didn't have to fight you that night, thank God. But
when is the first time you guys fought?
That's intimidating.
When is the first time you guys fought?
When was the
first
time? I don't even know what first time. Yeah,
maybe 86. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
No, well, like, I mean, we always loaded up with a lot of toughness. I mean, it had to be hard for opponents and that.
It's terrible.
Basically, you're still, when you get in the fight, you're still the one-on-one guy and want to do your job. Like, nobody ever wanted to be embarrassed. They wanted to be able to do their job. And, the biggest thing for me was like, making sure you do the job. So when you went back in the dressing room with the rest of your teammates, they knew that you did the job. That was the whole point for me. But as far as like you're talking about all those tough guys that we had out on the ice, I mean, it's basically sending a message saying, "Hey, we're here to play tonight, and what are you gonna do?"
Yeah,
and
take your protein
was there
pills.
A team, Dave? Was there a team?
The only thing you could do, right? I mean, but you can't fight everybody. You fight one guy. You did your job, and you said, "Well, you know what? You guys are gonna put those guys out here. Well, we're gonna fight here too." So.
Take your protein pills and put your helmets on, right? I'm telling you, like, I know the feeling. And I know the feeling of sitting in the room, and I'm sure you do too. And you might have played with some players, that had a little more security because you had a lot of tough guys around. But I remember going into Philly, going into Boston, and looking around my room and seeing the guys who were fucking scared shit. I mean, guys are nervous. They know they're going to get whacked. They're going to get chopped. And they're just hoping a guy like me or you is going to be there to protect them. Now, did you, I've heard some tough guys talk about their careers, and I've heard tough guys say I couldn't sleep the night before a game. I couldn't sleep the afternoon. I've also heard guys say, "Oh, I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. Fuck. Okay, I had tight ass. I'm sure you've had tight ass. All right, it's not the easiest situation to go in, but once you're there and you go, you know what you have to do. Yeah. But the lead up to it, how was that for you? Like, could you sleep the night before a game, the afternoon? Did you ever say, "What the fuck am I doing?" Or you just?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that nerves or anxiety, I don't think there's anybody that can say they played the game that didn't have that. And it didn't go away. It was throughout your career. It was for me anyway. But I wasn't, I was so much that I couldn't sleep. But, it's all in the preparation. And I think it's like your adrenaline gets you ready for the game. It's basically telling you, like, you got to be ready here or you could get hurt. And that was the preparation, and it's still intriguing now. Like, I mean, I think it was the same for everybody. Like, you just had to get yourself ready because, the main thing, first of all, you don't want to get hurt, and the other thing is you wanted to do well for your team and for your teammates, and that would be the biggest letdown for me, is if I thought I didn't do my best for the teammates. But as far as having anxiety and getting ready, I think that was all in your mind, trying to get you prepared for that moment when you're going to fight. And let's say you're going to fight for maybe a minute, maybe a minute and a half. It takes a long time to get ready for that. But after that, it seemed like it was a lot easier to play the game after you got that done. But and I think a lot of other tough guys, like, after our careers are over, like, did you get this? Did you have anxiety? Yeah, damn right we did. I mean, nobody wanted to be embarrassed. And I think that was the preparation for getting you ready for the game. Now,
I'm going to, listen, this is difficult. Like, when you look, you didn't play a regular shift.
No.
And I don't bring this up to disparage you in any way. You made it to the NHL. I look at that one season in 87-88, you had 12 goals and 5 assists. Like, how fun was that for you? Someone who, you didn't get that regular shift all the time, and then getting the opportunity to chip in that way. Was that like, when I look at the numbers on that, was that like a real fun time? Even 85-86, you had 10 goals. But still, that must have been a good feeling. So, people always ask me, must be awesome to win a fight. Which is better, winning a fight or scoring a goal? I'm like, fucking scoring a goal any day.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
But how were those 2 seasons for you where you did chip in with some offense?
Well, that was great. I can remember one game I scored 2 goals against Buffalo, and I don't think I ever did it again. But that's one regret that I have, is that I wish I could have had I don't know if I was not tough enough mentally to really separate fighting and playing the game. I wish I would have played the game more instead of, like, I was always worried that I wasn't going to do my job physically and fighting in that. And so I was kind of saved myself for that part of it, where I wish I would have tried to play the game more and maybe concentrated on that a little bit more. That is one great regret that I have, because I think it could, if I'd have been able to do that, I might have been a little bit better player. I was never going to be any more than a fourth line player, though.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you, and that's a good point you bring up. And whether you worked on it or not, but here's what happened to me. And I had a coach, and I thank God I had the coaching I did, and Claude Rurel and Jacques Lemaire. And I say that because here you are talking about, yeah, you wish you could have played more. So it depends on the coach, too, what they want from you. They knew I could fight. They knew I would fight. But, you know, they wanted to turn me into a player. They wanted to help me become a player so they could put me on. And they told me that. They said, listen, we don't want you just fighting all the time. If you're going to do that job, great. But we want to help you become a player. And then they worked on shit with me after practice every day to help me improve and get to the point. Now, mind you, I ended up playing with 2 Hall of Famers in Carbonell and Gainey on a checking line, which would, for me to be typecast and put in a role, couldn't be more perfect.
Right.
So those guys had a lot to do with my success. But honestly, the coaching staff, the organization wanted me to be more than a fighter. So I got really, talk about lucky going to the Canadians. Because honestly, I feel if I did go to the Bruins or I went to the Flyers, it could have been that way. Right. Okay, we got a lot of guys that can fight. Oh, you're fine. You just fight. We're fine with that. Do you think, I don't know, some of your coaches kind of shortchanged you that way and didn't give you that direction? Maybe that could have helped you?
Yeah, I think so. Like in some cases, like I had a couple coaches, I didn't name them, but where they wouldn't.
Not Mike Keenan.
I was going to say Keenan. Yeah, tell us a Keenan story. Keenan. You got to have him.
Mike Keenan would play me. Yeah, he would play me. Yeah, he wasn't that. But I had a couple coaches that, you know, like most embarrassing was when they didn't even give you a shift for the whole game.
Oh,
that happened a couple times, and I was, you know, I think Mike Keenan would play me. He wasn't, you know. He would be a little more encouraging in that as far as playing the game. But I had a couple coaches that, they would just minimize you as a fourth line player, and you're just going to fight, and that's all you're going to do. You know, I was always reliable in my own end. I could get the puck out. I always gave good support that way. I knew if I kept the puck out of my own end that I could get on the ice again.
Not going to be a liability.
Yeah. Right. And so, but I was always a fourth line player. But I do wish I would have tried to play the game more. I think I could have been better. I was, like I said, always going to be a fourth line player, but like, I would have liked to have played the game more. I mean, let's face it, when we always played the game right from when we were kids to just have fun and play the game, it wasn't the fighting part of it.
Yeah.
But you know, when we played, fighting was a big part of it. And I was always worried that I wasn't going to do that part of the job well enough, and it probably took away from, you know, my ability to play the game.
So I like that you said, you know, Keenan was one of those guys. Tim played for Keenan in Russia.
Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah, he wasn't one of those guys, I'll tell you that. No, he was I don't know. I'm sure he was the same with you, but he was just Iron Mike, you know.
Yeah, he's tough.
He likes to play mind games, right? Like you never know. You never know what he's going to say or do, but you know, I played hard for him at the end of the day. So
yeah, he always keep you on edge. Or
I mean, I got a therapist today because of him. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm glad I played for him. But I was going to ask that. What, you know, how was it playing for him? But clearly, you answered that question. I think it's funny too when I ask, or the question of like, do you like to score a goal or fight or goal? And it's like everyone said a goal, and I'm like, you know, it makes sense. Like I didn't grow up being. You know, I'm always like, hey, I'm Gretzky. I didn't grow up being like, hey, I'm George Laraque. Like you guys, you know what I mean? Like it makes sense. So, no, it's been awesome hearing this. And do you have any good Keenan stories?
Keenan stories. Let me think for a few minutes here. Some of these Mike Keenan story. Well, I'm not going to say who did it, but I don't know if I should tell that story or not. I know one night
we'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, nothing's
no
live.
Pressure.
He came home from a road trip, and I think he had a couple of tires that were flat on his car. I'm not going to say who did it, but I think it was one of the wives.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yes.
How is that? Right? And listen, we had Mike on, Tim and I, I've met him a few times personally and I liked him. We had good chats. I never played for him. I heard guys, oh my God, guys who play for him. I won't mention names like you, but guys said, Jesus, it's unbelievable what we went through with him. But anyway, I liked him when I met him. We had him on him. I said, all right, let's cut to the chase, Mike. Every guy I talked to that played for you said, you're nothing but the biggest prick, to them. He said, yeah, Knuckles, I am, but I'm a nice prick. And I'm like, okay, you got me there. If you love your pet like I love my St. Bernard Adele, you'll want to feed them a balanced, biologically appropriate raw diet. The reason I've chosen Formula Raw is because all blends of their food are locally sourced and they consist of exclusively human-grade meat and organs, as well as fruits and vegetables. And all products used are hormone and antibiotic-free. So like I said, if you love your pet like I love Adele, you choose Formula Raw. Make sure you go to formularaw.com and use the promo code RawKnux at checkout to receive 10% off your first order. That's RawKnux, RawKnux.
Like I don't have a problem with Mike. Even when I played, he didn't really bother me much because I did my job.
Yeah.
But we had some good teams though. We went to finals 2 out of 3 years. And so I don't know how you could complain about that. I wish he would have let up a little bit in '87. I think we would have. We were on the door to having an upset and beating Edmonton in '87, and we didn't. We lost in 7 games, but we had some good teams, so that made Mike Keenan a lot easier to take.
I here's the thing: is I had him. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I grew up like watching him, just because I'm from Chicago, and then. Yeah. I don't. You explained it good there. It's like he's success. I mean, he's a winning coach, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I came to his team. I got traded in Russia to his team that he was coaching, and they won it the year before.
Oh yeah.
So it was like but he just does things once. It's just like he crosses the line a little bit on things where it's just like why, but. He was good at it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, a lot of times he would pick on other players on your team just to get everybody else going too.
Yep.
He was really hard on Doug Crossman. I wish he would have just let him up a little bit, but he had his own methods for how he needed to coach. But looking back on it, like we were successful and we won. But I mean, would you rather lost and not had him? Like I would have rather gone through it. Go through the experience and win. We were really good. We had good teams,
and I don't know if you still talk to him, but like he's a good guy. Like away,
yeah.
Like what I mean. He let me go home, and I know a Russian coach wouldn't have done that. But when my son was born, I went home for like 6 days before the playoffs. But he was really about family and stuff, and then that's what was more confusing. So I was like, I kind of like this guy, and then I get to the rink and I'd be like, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
But like he, it was good. I'm glad I played for him. I think, like you said, you can't really fault a guy that wins. He knows what it takes. That was his method. It wouldn't work today. It wouldn't work today, but it was his method.
Yeah, and I still see him. Well, when I see him occasionally. He'll come in for some of the alumni stuff. And so I don't know last time. It was probably within a year that I've seen him.
Yeah.
But he, I mean, he's a good guy to talk to now.
Yeah,
he's a fun guy.
Exactly.
And, it's always good to see him in that. Like I said, I can look past a lot of the other stuff. I think as far as like people from other teams, that's probably what I get asked about the most is that brawl we had with them. And
that was crazy. That was crazy.
It was
that happened today.
What it was
today,
bad for is
you guys would be going to jail or something.
The next summer, they had a meeting about it, and that's when they brought in the rule where if you brawled or you came off the bench, you got a 10-game suspension, and the coach got suspended for 10 games. So I point to that fact that's where the fighting started to decline because of those rules. And now we are where we are now, where there isn't a lot of it anymore.
No, it's and you know, I wasn't a fighter, but I could tell you, you know, my career, which a lot of was in Europe and Russia, but I was always in a situation where I could play in my game because of a fighter, right? Like for some reason, I was always on the team that had, you know, pretty good heavies, and I respect the role. I think it's needed. So I don't know. I mean, I know the game is so different now; it's so much faster and stuff. But you like today's game?
I like today's game. I think, though, I think, well, I don't like, I wish they'd get rid of the overtime. I'm not a big fan of that because for me, that takes away from the team game. I think they should play another 5 minutes but have everybody play. Like for me, you eliminate the team game when you can't play your fourth line players. Third and fourth line players aren't playing in overtime. I understand why they do it because they want the entertainment factor and they want the offense and that. So they want to display the skill. But for me, it takes away from the team game.
Well, some of those, you know how it is, and like with those 1 or 2 points matter all of a sudden. It's because we lost the shootout, and you know, and it's like that's why we're not in the playoffs.
Yeah. Are you in Montreal?
No, I'm in. I'm just out. I'm in Indiana actually.
Okay, so you're outside Chicago then.
Yeah. I just I'm originally from Chicago, but my wife and kids. When I was in Russia, I bought a place more like kind of a summer place.
Oh yeah, is that where you are now?
And it just we ended up staying here. It's just, you know, small town out on by Lake Michigan, not far from Chicago.
For you.
Where are you? Are you in Philadelphia?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I moved down here about 8 years ago. I lived in South Jersey for like 35, 40 years. And then about 8 years ago, I moved down to Richmond, and I got remarried 3 years ago. So that's why I came down here.
Do you ever go back to Saskatchewan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get back every year. Go back to see, I have family back there, my sister, and I have some cousins and nieces and nephews. But I go up back home I got buddies there. We still go back up to the lake and have one weekend at the lake there for about 4 days. So it's good to see everybody.
Yeah, every player I played that's from Saskatchewan, just all this, you know, always just the best teammates, and then just tough. Like, you know, not necessarily like you're kind of tough, like where you're beating up everybody, but it's more just like you're tough. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the way you guys, like you said, farmers or whatever, however you want to say it. But I mean,
I don't know. It always seemed like you're getting tested when you're playing, even as a kid. Like.
Yeah.
I used to even walk into school like somebody's always testing you out, you know. So,
wow.
I don't know what it is. I just thought that was normal that everybody else went through it.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay.
We're done. I finished.
Good.
We're good.
We got an ice storm here in fucking Montreal.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. But
come down here and visit, man. Weather's great down here.
No shit. Where are you at?
I'm in Richmond.
Okay.
It's I won't tell you how warm it is here today.
Yeah, God. Anyway, so we were talking. Where the hell did
Keenan?
Keenan.
And we were going right into the brawl. That's where we were just getting into that.
Well, the Keenan thing and the brawl. When I think back, but first I wanted to touch on the Sandstrom thing. That's where I was. All right, you cross-check Sandstrom. He was a prick on the ice, and I played with Thomas. And I really like Thomas Sandstrom.
Yeah, I like Thomas too.
And I'm sure.
Yeah.
And when you cross-check them, there you get a 15-game suspension. And we're playing in Montreal on a Thursday night against the Rangers. And he would always kind of come up the face-off and look at me, give me this goofy look, right? And I'm there, what are you looking at, Bird Brain? And he looked at me like that. I said, listen, Saturday night, Philadelphia's coming to town, and I'm going to get Dave Brown for you. And he looked at me like, you know, this guy's out of his mind. Anyway, we play the game. Saturday night comes. You and I fight at the Forum. And then when I get traded to the Rangers, I come walking in, and he goes, you are out of your fucking mind, he says. I can't believe you did that. You said you were going to do it, and you did it. It was, I'm telling you. Anyway, that was one of those fights I was looking forward to. And then certainly when I became a Ranger, you know, how couldn't I not go after you? Yeah. I remember Thomas, they put me on the ice with Thomas at Madison Square Garden, and then the puck dropped, and there you were. And I said, I got to attack him. And I went right up. Anyway, some good fights.
Yeah.
Obviously, that I used to, Christ, I had to get in tight on you. I'm like, if I let him string me out, I am in trouble. And then I would try and throw my right and you throw your left. And then I'd sneak a left in here and there. I had to pick my way through the fight. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd kill me. If I didn't fight smart, I was done. But that being said, let's get to the brawl, to end all brawls. And I say that, and I'm being honest here, and I will be honest. I didn't really know about that goal thing they were doing before the game, Lemieux and Corson,
right,
until the last game in Philadelphia before we came to Montreal, Game 5.
Right.
I heard about it on the way back that Flyers were pissed because they were doing this thing before the game. So, boom, we have warm up in Montreal. I go in the room, and I'm not even thinking of that. Are they out there putting the puck in the net? Yeah. I undid my skates like I always do and just sat there, and I'm getting ready. And next thing I know, the ushers are come running in, going, "Oh my God, there's something! They're attacking them!" And anyway, I did my skates real fast, and I go out, and who's there? Shell Samuelson. I can't fight Shell Samuelson. Right. I didn't want to fight him because I knew if I ended up with him or someone else, then someone else is going to end up with you, and I had to wait for you. And as I recall, and I want to hear it from your standpoint, but I remember everybody comes out. And there you are lurking. You got no jersey. And I'm going, oh, shit. No jersey. What do I do here? And Chelios, who I found out afterward, played with you somewhere.
Yeah, it was actually...
and he knew you.
Yeah. It was.
And Chelly gets in there and tries to keep Brownie away from me, which Chelly always tried to break up my fights. He always tried to keep me from getting... Anyway, he was awesome. But he's trying, and then finally... I said, this can't go on. I just went after you and threw a punch, and off we went. And I remember at one point, we had because we were tired a little bit from fighting, and we were right around the blue line, and you leaned over, and it's funny, I look on the replay of it, and I think you said to me, "Have you had enough?" And I said, "No." And I threw another punch, and off we went. And I want to hear that from your
real
standpoint.
Quick. Up to this point, did you guys fight a couple times already?
Yeah, we had fought already.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I want to hear it from your standpoint.
Like from our side of it, there, like really it was Eddie Haas. They didn't start it, but like they were talking about like it didn't really matter to me about them putting the puck in the net, but. Our guys are chatted about it a little bit, and Eddie Hospital said we're not going to let him put the puck in the net tonight, and that because he wasn't playing in the game, right? So
that's another thing. Keenan dressed how many guys?
He dressed extra guys.
Yeah, right. We didn't,
and so until I knew what was happening, really, we were sitting in the dressing room just. Took our stuff off and waiting for the warm up, do that. And anyway, so the way I understand the story is that Lemieux and Corson were waiting it out. And so Eddie Hospodar and Chico Resch were waiting it out. And so
they ducked down behind the bench. They ducked down.
So they went off the ice. So Eddie Hospodar and Chico went off the ice. And then I don't know for sure, but I thought that maybe they turned the net around.
They did.
And so Corson and Lemieux came back out and they got the puck and turned the net around. This is what I believe happened. And then I believe that's when Eddie came back on the ice with Chico and he went after Lemieux. And that's how the fight started, is the way I saw it. But I didn't know what was happening at that time. We were underneath, like sitting.
I knew that.
And then our trainers come in and said, "Hey, they're fighting out there." And
And then here come the troops. And Tim, that Shell Samuelson is bigger than Brownie.
Oh, yeah.
He's like 6'8".
Yeah.
And, he was kind of leaning up against me like, stay out of this. I'm going, I'm going to sucker you if you start grabbing me or anything just to get away from you. And there's a little pushing and milling around. Some more guys come on the ice, some more. And then I look, and then here he comes. Okay, here he comes with no jersey, and I'm going, oh
yeah,
shit.
like what the fuck?
And I'm thinking afterwards, I'm going, geez. Somebody asked me, he said, geez, Dave Brown, no jersey. I said, yeah, I wish I thought of that. And then Brownie told me, I didn't think of it. I always took my jersey off.
Yeah.
Between periods.
I didn't purposely take it off. I just took it off after the warm up, and they said they're fighting. So we went out there, and that's what's going to happen. As far as like fighting and that, I knew I was going to have to fight you when we went out there because we were the tough guys and we had to do that.
Yeah.
You guys, did you have a hatred or anything, or even after? Did you guys, or was there more of a respect maybe, or were you guys like, hey, we should do a podcast?
I didn't hate
sometime?
Dave Brown, and I'm not saying that because you're here. I'm going to tell you, I actually had a little soft spot for you. I liked you, but I knew I had to fight you. There were some guys I just didn't like.
Right.
Some of the guys I just didn't like, but I kind of had a soft spot for you, believe it or not.
No, I had respect for you because you did your job, and I think you were a little bit undersized compared to some of the other guys, but you were savvy, you were street smart, you knew you'd do your job, and I respected that because you did your job. And you know what? I was a tough guy on the other team, and I had to do my job. And if some nights you're going to have to fight, you're just going to have to fight. But there was a lot of respect there.
Yeah, no question about it.
And
there was no time during that fight. You guys were like, hey, let's do a podcast. It's crazy how it works, though, right? Like we're here talking about.
You can't imagine, like in that fight too. I can remember Chelly grabbed before we were kind of we were trying to kind of get position in that and how we're going to start this fight, and it took a while before we got going.
Yeah.
And then Chelly grabbed me right by the arm or something, and that's when he came in, and then we kind of got together, and then we started wrestling and stuff. And I mean, it was. I don't know how long we fought for, but we might have been engaged for like 25 minutes. And
yeah, like people don't realize that, how long that is, that we were.
Oh.
And then you guys you played after the game?
Well, we played after, but I couldn't get my arms loosened up. They were massaging my forearms because I just grabbing the whole time. And you know, when Chelly grabbed me, I think I kind of ducked a little bit and tried to grab you by the leg. And what happened was on my skates, when I went to pull back up, I ripped a whole bunch of rivets out of the bottom of the skates from pulling back up. Oh. And they were a little wobbly, but
thank God. I needed all the help I could get.
No, I didn't have it. And so, I mean, basically we were wrestling and fighting for 20-25 minutes probably, and you know, after that, I mean, you didn't have a whole lot left for the game.
I was junk. Dave Brown, I'm gonna tell you right now, I remember because I was playing with Bob in Cabo, right? And I was I was playing a regular shift. We were the checking line, and I'm gonna tell you, I went out that first shift, I was fucking junk. My neck, all my muscles were tight in my neck, my arms were rubber, I was junk.
Yeah.
And then we end up losing that game, obviously, and out of the playoffs. She knocked us out of the playoffs. And, it's just, again, the brawl to end all brawls. And I've been in a few. The Nordiques won the match, Good Friday Massacre, they called it.
Yeah.
I hated brawls. I don't mind fighting a guy one-on-one, but I hated the brawls.
Yeah, it was dangerous, although it was a little more respectful in the NHL than it was it was dangerous in junior. When I played junior, it was dangerous because guys would outright sucker punch you.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more respectful in the NHL, and occasionally guys would do that. But I didn't like that.
So how about this? Now I've looked back on some of the things I did. The Middleton incident, you know, I popped them in the teeth, and I regret that. It was a stain on me as a player. That wasn't my style. I went over the line. Do you have any regrets? Things?
Yeah, one time I fought Craig Cox in Vancouver, and I got the jump on him. I kind of regret that. I cut him bad over the eye, and you know what? I want to be known as an honest guy that would be fair in a fight and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's one that I really. I got the start on him, and I regret that because I think he was an honest guy. He was a good fighter. He was tough, but that's one that I do regret.
How about Bird? How about Sandstrom? Do you regret having cross-checked him in the face?
you know what? I regret for him, but the people that really needed to wake up was the league. The reason it happened is because the league didn't do their job. He kept on sticking our players.
Yeah.
And he would continuously do it. Like, I think the year before, I got 5 games for spearing him too. And then one time I got him and I didn't get caught. But he would just keep this up. And I think I just had enough. The referees weren't making the calls, and he kept this stuff up. And I think I just had enough. He bumped into Hextall, and I just went off. And I actually didn't hit him as hard as I could have. I could have probably tore his head.
It looked worse than it was.
And I didn't. But, no, as far as Thomas personally, but I point to the league not doing their job in that. Finally, a player got tired of them not making the calls on him. And so he was hurting my players. I had to take care of them. That was the priority. So
you end up your Philly days, certainly, those first 6 years, and then you move on to Edmonton. And again, people play this game, they love this game, and they want to win a Stanley Cup. You go to Edmonton, and you get an opportunity to play on a team
that just beat you in Game 7, though. That's crazy, right? Like,
I know.
Right?
You probably were thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to join those guys and go win a cup." At the time, that's crazy.
I was mad. I don't think I talked for a month.
Right?
Wow.
Oh, but how could you not? I mean, they give me a stall beside Mark Messier, and then they had such a good team. They had probably 6 or 7 guys that were real leaders there. The team ran itself. We had a good team. It didn't take long after that I realized the opportunity that I had. And, I would never win a Stanley Cup if I hadn't gone there.
Right.
So I'm very thankful the time that we had there. We had a great team. Everybody did a lot of things together. There was a true team. I really enjoyed the time that I was there. And there's always something special when I see all those teammates still.
Right.
Did you have a hatred towards them, like at all, like from losing?
Well, I did, yeah. But I mean, we lost in 7 games in '87 to them, and and we played them in the finals in '85 too, and they beat us there too. So, it was for the first few weeks there. It was a little tough, but after I realized, well, what an opportunity I had to win. I had a chance to win the Stanley Cup, which is
what do they say? You can't beat them, you join them. Yeah.
No,
you joined them. You joined them, and there's a lot of great players, guys that played 1,000 games, guys that scored all sorts of goals and everything. They don't have their name on that Stanley Cup, and God bless you, you got one, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, and
you have that opportunity,
Edmonton,
and you're there a few years. How was it with Slats? I always loved Slats.
Yeah.
And it seemed Slats loved the tough guys, and I'm sure he took a liking to you. How was it? With Glenn Sagan. I love Slats.
I love Slats. He was probably the best bench coach I ever had. I thought he had the best feel for how he played his players. Like if you were having a real good game, he would play you more, and he would play you, more and more. Like I always thought he had the best feel on how he played his players. And he always had a little bit of style, He had
classy guy.
Classy guy. Always looked good. Always had the shine shoes and the nice suits and stuff like that. He knew what he was doing. Like he had great intuition on how to build a team and how it was coming together. And that they had great teams there.
So you leave the oil and you go back to the Flyers. Were you happy to be back home? Do you feel like I'm back home now? I got the cup. Cool. Now I'm back home. I'm with the Flyers again. How happy were you to be back in Philly?
Yeah, I was happy to be back in Philly. I mean, that's where I live, so that was very convenient that way. I think in some talks there was a chance I was going to go to the Rangers.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have minded going there because I thought that they were going to have a better team. Like with the Flyers, that's when the Lindros era came in there and the team wasn't very good at the start. So, it was still, I'm glad to be back in Philadelphia because that's where I lived and I was kind of used to their culture and stuff like that. So, Yeah, I was just happy to be back in Philly, but I regret that the team wasn't very good for a few years there when I just got back. But
so then that last year, 95, 96, you go to the Sharks and you play it out. What is it that you say to yourself, I'm done, I've had enough, it's over?
Like I think in the end, I could have probably still played longer than that, but I only played I think it was 30, 40 games that year. And so I didn't get regular time on the ice, and I still felt like I could still do the physical part of the game as well as I could when I came in the league. But not playing all the time wasn't fun for me. I wanted to play every game. And so I think that's where I kind of made the decision that I wanted to, that I was going to go retire and do something else.
Was it hard? Was it hard to go? Did you go to San Jose as a free agent, or you traded there?
Yeah, just a free agent. Yeah,
because that year you left Philly, they went to the finals, right, against Detroit.
No, that was the year after. Actually, when I retired in was it 90?
Oh yeah, exactly 97. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah,
I was at that's part of the reason why I retired too, because I was assistant coach with the Flyers when we went to the finals that year. That was the next year after I retired.
No way.
We went to the finals against Detroit and lost 4 straight.
Yep.
So, with having that coaching offer and also not playing much the year before, kind of went into my reasoning behind retiring.
Yeah.
I still knew I could physically I could still do my job the same way I could as when I came in the league. And I kind of took pride in that I could still do that, but I didn't like not playing, and I didn't want to just be a bit player. And so
when it's time, right? When you know when. Yeah. I mean, I think that's awesome that you got to go out on your terms, kind of, right? Like sometimes
I didn't want to go out getting beat up.
Yeah, no,
I still hold my own.
Who were outside of Chris? Who were some of the toughest guys to you that you faced in fighting?
You talk about it. Every team had a tough guy. You had to be ready every night. And Chris was really tough. He was savvy. He was smart. He was hard. He was hard to fight because he, like he said, he would get inside you and you couldn't. Mm-hmm. I was better if I could really stretch a guy out, where I had some length in that. It was hard to fight him because he would get inside on you.
Did you love fighting? Did you like fighting?
Oh, I think you had to like it.
Some guys though, right? They're some guys maybe take the role on, right? But you liked, yeah, okay. I
think you had to like it a little bit, otherwise you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably what I liked the most was that after you had a fight, the feeling that you helped the rest of your team.
Yeah.
That's what was the most rewarding. That you thought you did your job for the team. That was probably the most rewarding thing. And also, you're hoping you did it because you're hoping it's going to help you win the game. Otherwise, why would you do it?
Yeah, that's such a good point, because people, obviously you can't win every fight, or maybe it looks like you lose, but when your fighter and your guy loses, it's deflating for the whole team, right? Now it's like there's our guy that's kind of protecting us, but I don't think that, you had a pretty successful kind of run on that. Did you have any fights where you got beat pretty good and that felt that way?
I never felt like I really got beat up bad. I mean, there's some fights you're going to take a couple extra punches in the face. I mean, that happened to everybody. And you're not going to win all fights. And I really believe that most fights were closer to a draw than anything. I mean, all these guys were good at what they did. Very seldom, people get all excited about it, thinking, oh, that guy really beat that guy up. And I describe a beating as something that the guy's got to go to the hospital and spend a couple of days there. Mm-hmm. I mean, most fights were guys are still standing at the end of the fight. So that's more of a draw than
that's true.
Else.
It's true. It's like a UFC fight. I mean, a guy, guy wins, but they both, it's not.
I wasn't tearing somebody's. I would beat somebody up real bad every fight. I mean, most of them were close because all these guys knew what they were doing.
You think hockey is better without it, or the route it's going?
I think you have to. You know what they don't understand is that fighting was always part of the game that helped you win the game, and not the only thing. Like, I really think that the players are better if they have some toughness on the bench with them, and you can. In the past, you used to be able to use it for a tool to help you win the game, and that's where I think they lose the idea that they think, oh well, it's just a goon squad and it's a big show and this and that. The skill players want that toughness in their lineup. The
game's safer. Now you take fighting out, there's gonna be way more.
Well, I know. What are you gonna do? Somebody like more guys getting their head running the boards and stuff like that. I mean, there's a reason why it's in the game. I think every team should have a tough guy.
I agree.
I think it'd be better for all the players. I think it's better for the game. I think the referees would have to make less calls.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, someone that might actually think about like just, baseball swinging someone in the head might actually do it because he's like, I don't really have to be accountable other than maybe a suspension. I don't know. Some people just kind of black out there, emotions.
And, the other part of it too is like, for instance, like if we were playing a game and our team was a little bit flat, let's say early in the game, your team got down 2-0. Well, you knew you were getting sent out there to do something, either run somebody over or start a fight or something like that. And that was a way you had a chance to turn the momentum of a game in your favor and maybe wake your own team up. And for me, that's part of the game. And I don't want them to take that part of it out of the game. I want like the fourth line players have a chance to change the momentum of a game. And I think they give that away if they give up fighting. I mean, and even back in like the 1940s and 50s when there was fighting, but there wasn't as much fighting, they would use that for a tool back then too. I mean, don't take the history of the game away from them.
Exactly. Did you grow up? At a certain point, was there any fighters that you kind of like looked up to before you got in the NHL, and then did you end up fighting them?
Not that I fought them like Clark Gillies was from back in Saskatchewan. I really liked him as a player. I kind of fought him. I know he didn't want to fight, but we just kind of wrestled him to the ice. I remember fighting Dave Semenko. Oh, wow. I like Dave Semenko. And the fight we had didn't really turn out to be much. It's kind of like, I don't think he wanted to fight, but we kind of tied each other up and stuff like that. But those are two guys that I fought that I like because they're Western guys, and, kind of grew up watching them. I'm sure there's some others. I like Paul Holmgren, but he was with the Flyers too at that time, so I didn't fight him.
Did you fear any? Was there any like actual like fear of a guy that, or he just didn't want to fight?
Not really. No.
Not really. Okay.
No, I looked at it from a standpoint. I respected everybody, but I knew that anybody you fought back then would. You had to keep yourself together.
Yeah, you could get hurt, is what you're saying. Yeah, anyone could hurt you, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And so when somebody says, "Well, who's the toughest guy you fought?" Well, it was probably the next guy you had to fight the next night. Because there were so many tough guys. Everybody had a tough guy, and you had to be ready. Like I think the guy I probably fought the most was Jay Miller. Played with Boston and with LA.
We just had him on. We just had Jay on.
Oh yeah. He's a good guy. And he was, he was always there. You had to fight, and he knew. And go around the league. Each team had tough guys. Detroit had Probert and Kosher. You want to go. There's a tough guy on every team.
Yep. Sorry, Knuckles, we're having a little issue here. Ice storm in Montreal. They bumped me off the internet a couple times, the bastards. I should be living in Florida, though I wouldn't have this problem. Anyway, so good. So you get to go from Philly to San Jose. Was that a trade, or was that you Just playing one more year. What was it?
Just playing one more year. I think the Flyers wanted me gone, and Clarkie set it up with Dean Lombardi. Yeah. So I went out there and played the year out. Like I was telling Tim, I didn't play a lot, and that was kind of like brought into my idea of retiring the next year. But I still enjoyed the year out there, but we had a terrible team. We had a lot of young players there, and we just weren't very good. I only played I think 30, 40 games, something like that. So, I wanted to play, and it was getting to the point where I wasn't playing all the time. I knew I could still do physically what I could do at the start. So
you step away. You step away from the game, then you get right into scouting. How's that come about? Did you go interview? Do you reach out to, was it Slats? You started in Edmonton, right?
You know what happened? Actually, the next year, I was telling Tim, I was assistant coach with the Flyers the next year. Yeah. And we had a pretty good team at that point. We went to the finals against Detroit there and lost 4 straight in the finals that year. So, and then I was there about a year and a half after that. It was been March of 98, I guess. Had a little problem. They had a coaching change. And so I left the Flyers. And then that was March of 1998. And then in August of 98, I was able to get on with the Rangers as a pro scout. And so August 1998, I've been pro scout ever since. And I was there with them for like 8 years. And then I went back to Flyers in 2006, and I've been with the Flyers.
Okay, so you started with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then you went to the Flyers and you come aboard. And the Flyers certainly have a reputation of bringing, former players in the fold. And they have. They've stuck by that. That Flyer mentality, the Flyer the togetherness, the family, all that. And that all started with Ed Snyder. How was Ed Snyder as an owner, like for the Flyers? I heard nothing but good things about him.
Well, all the players, if you'd ever met him, you would understand. If you ever played for his teams, there was a guy that always wanted to win, and sometimes to a fault sometimes, but you can never, he was always trying, and he loved the players. Every game that we played that he was at, he would come down and shake your hand every game after the game and say hi to all the players in that. There wasn't a game that he missed. Yeah. He was a great owner, and I wish he was still. That's one of the biggest regrets I have is that in my time that I was with the Flyers, I never won a Stanley Cup for him. And I really wish we could, but he's held in very high regard, and we miss him.
So, that's, I'm sure, a sad time in the history of the Flyers, no question about it. Now you're the director of scouting, Flyers, right? You've been there for a while now. When you look at scouting from when you first came in to the scouting part of the game, how has it changed from, like, with analytics and all that stuff today? Like, how has it changed from back in the day? How did you draft a player, say, when you first started out, and how do you look at it now? Do you look at it a little differently?
Well, I really don't have too much. I mean, as far as the analytics and that, they do a lot of that in behind with, like, more of the amateur side. I do all the pro side, so I don't really have much as far as the numbers and stuff like that. As far as how I see a player playing in the NHL, I pretty much judge him the same as I would years ago. But, like, as far as the analytics, it does come into account a lot when we have a lot of people employed that whatever they have them, they're running the numbers and stuff like that. I don't know how they keep them all busy, but we got a lot of them.
Yeah, right.
But it's a good comparison, I guess. They come up with some interesting facts, but I think in the end, when you're evaluating a player, you're looking first of all their competitiveness and how tough they are. Yeah. For me, those are the two things. But as far as the analytics, I'm not very involved in that. But as far as it is interesting to look at some of the numbers and
some of the numbers and see how they match up against certain players, right?
But you you can't measure somebody's heart.
No.
Can you measure their video game play?
Yeah.
How do you like the iPads on the bench? Because Chris, you like that?
Hey,
Chris,
you know what,
I
if
hate it.
If it helps you, go ahead. But like, does that not take away from the next shift you got to play?
Right.
I don't get it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I tell Tim, and I remember Kreider, Zibanejad went in on a 2-on-1. He missed the net. He come back and he looked at right to the bench. He picked up the iPad and Kreider grabbed it and he threw it behind and smashed it. And I was never so happy because honestly, that it's so true. When you think old time hockey, I know, okay, the players have changed and the game has changed somewhat, but you come back off it, catch your fucking breath. You know what you did wrong. Yeah. And chances are, if you're not clear on it, you can go in between periods and look at the goddamn thing with the coach and say, show me this. But I hate that. Absolutely hate iPads on the bench. Drives me out of my mind. But
I don't like. I think you got to be thinking about the next thing you're doing on the next shift. What are you looking at an iPad for? It just takes your mind off what you're supposed to be doing. Like you said,
well, if you're not playing a lot, though, it might be nice just to have an iPad.
Yeah,
right?
they put some cartoons on there or something.
So we have some guys that work with us, some producers, and they have a question, and one of the questions is they want to know, how would Dave Brown scout himself? We want to hear the lowdown. Come on, Brownie.
You'd probably say that he was a fourth line player, but very limited in what he could do. He could defensively, he could keep the puck out of his own end. His main job is to make the rest of his team feel very comfortable, like a nice warm blanket wrapped around him. So,
and he has the heart, and he has the heart the size of a basketball.
Hey,
awesome.
And you know what it's like, man. Everybody had to have one of those guys. So there's a lot more demand for it back then than there is now. But I was a limited player, but I had enough toughness that I was able to play a few years in the league and contribute to a team. I was just a small part of it, but I was very lucky to have played in the NHL and be part of that. And it's still good to me now. I mean, I'm still in the game and that, scouting wise and that. So I've been a pretty lucky guy as far as
you have, and I don't take that lightly when you say it, because listen, there's been quite a bit of turnover over the years with the Flyers, right? We look at it, from GM to Holmgren to Hextall to now they had Fletcher and now Dan Brier's in there, and you being still there, that says a lot about you as a person and the job you're doing. So that's awesome. But how is it when that new management comes in and they get put in place? How's that for you? Do you get like, well, geez, might I be going somewhere? Or am I sticking around? Right?
No, I mean, I'd like to stay here as long as I can, but I think, in reality, I mean, if the Flyers said to me tomorrow, we're making some changes, I mean, I would shake their hand and say thank you very much for everything and go, because I mean, they've been so good to me. And I would still be part of it as far as the alumni and stuff like that. We do a lot of stuff with that. And that's so, I mean, the Flyers will always be part of it. But if they said, you know what, it's time, we want to make a change, I would understand.
How about Paul Holmgren? What a man he is, right? Yeah. Like I happened to meet Paul on a few occasions. I followed him a couple of times. He's a hell of a man. And talk about a lot of respect down in Philadelphia for Paul Holmgren. Right?
Oh yeah, he's a great friend, and we spend a lot of time together. Run the Flyers and that. I'm glad that he's now able to step back a little bit and let it go, and he's more of an advisor. But we had some good teams there. In 2010, that's one of our regrets, is not winning in Chicago there. We were close, but we just didn't quite have enough. We maybe need a little bit more goaltending, a little bit better defense. Yeah. But he was great because he was again a guy that wanted to win. He knew what we needed and that. And we actually turned the team around pretty quick from 2007, and by 2010 we were in the finals. So we went after it, and I like it that he was always aggressive, but He was a well-spoken guy, really good to his people and that. And I still talk to him often here now and get to see him and that. But he's a really good friend.
So I want to ask you, and a lot of people outside of Philly area and probably the hockey world, some. When did you get married to Karen, Dave?
I got married to Karen in
during your career?
1989, yeah.
Was she from Philadelphia?
She was from the South Jersey area, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And for those you don't know, and Tim, I'm not sure, Dave's lost his wife, Karen. She had an aneurysm. They were for dinner one night. And when I read that, and I hate to bring up a sore spot, but, here you are, your second career is going good, and then you get hit with that. I can only imagine how extremely difficult it was for you. And honestly, when I read it, I was just like, man. And then having met you down in Philly, God, I felt bad certainly for your wife and what happened to her, but you too, and moving on from that, not an easy thing. Those years for you, bouncing back from that, how difficult was it?
Well, that was hard, and I was with the Rangers and that, and they gave me a lot of room for me to collect myself. I mean, I struggled probably for 2-3 years. I really did. I mean, something like that, you just never think that something like that's going to happen to you. And I think everybody has something similar to that in their own life, but
right,
somebody's so close to you like that, and then just all of a sudden, she basically, she collapsed in front of me, and I think you still take some problems like after that. Like I always have some regret that I couldn't have done more.
Yeah.
I think about, I think, just wonder if I could have done something different to maybe saved her. But I mean, looking back on in reality, she collapsed and she was gone immediately.
Wow.
But I mean, I think it affects you in some ways that you don't realize it. You maybe see it later, but I really miss her. And so some days I think, man, did that really happen? It's like, it's an unbelievable situation when something like that happens. You just never think anything like that's going to happen to you.
Well, God bless you and certainly your family, and thinking of Karen, again, a difficult thing to go through. And I wanted to address it because I just know, and I can only imagine how difficult it was on you. So then the scouting game, you go back to Philly. Now you're in Philly doing your thing, and we get John Tortorella comes to Philly. I don't know, a lot of people, I mean, to me, he's the perfect guy for Philadelphia. When you think of the fan base, when you think what they want in a coach who's no nonsense. Do you think a guy like that today, those old school, like I love Darryl Sutter, Tortorella. Do you think those guys are like kind of getting close to where fighting's going to be out of the game pretty soon? Yeah. Like, and it's kind of gone, but those type of coaches just aren't going to cut it anymore with these kids.
Well, I don't know. I think they probably, like a lot of coaches, for whatever reasons, like, I mean, Calgary's reacted to Sutter good. I mean, if the team is still effective, I think the coach is effective. I think like Torts has turned us into a lot more competitive team. I thought at the end of last year we looked like we quit on some games. I hate to say it, but it looked like we did. But Torts has brought us back that respect. I don't know if there's. I think in the line of development there's well, let's face it, like Sutter in Calgary. I mean, how many championships did he win with LA?
Yeah,
you know what
Stanley
I mean?
Cups, right? Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, and I think he's been effective in Calgary. Maybe it's just that maybe their team isn't quite as good as maybe they think it is. Like the coach can only do so much too. But as far as Torts, I mean, he's made us competitive. We play hard. Yeah, we don't have a top end talent that's going to win us the games, and that's what we have to get to. But our team has played a lot harder this year, and they're more competitive. And I would think we're going to build a base of players that when you bring a new player in, that they just conform to the system that we're playing. So we are building something here from the bottom up, and we want guys that are going to play hard. But we have to buy ourselves time to get top 2-line players and top 4 defense. That's basically what we have to do, is buy ourselves some time. But having the system and the players there that are going to teach the next guys to come in, that's what we want to have. That's what we're trying to build right now.
So Dan Briere comes in, and here's a player who certainly had a career where, he put numbers up as a player. Do you think that mindset of a player like that, as opposed to a homegrown or a Bobby Clark, and not that Briere wasn't, he wasn't known for being a tough player, but now you got a guy that played for the Flyers, yes, a great offensive player. Do you think he takes this team in a direction where this league is headed, to that wide open hockey, run and gun type hockey?
Well, he could, but I think he obviously he was an elite player.
Yeah.
And him and Kimo Timonen, a couple other guys, deals we made, really turned that team around from 2007 on, and they were instrumental in making us back into a contender. I think Danny also, because he's been that skilled guy, he understands what it's like to have toughness around him. He knows he was a better player because the toughness was around him, and it made him a better player. And I think he appreciates that, and I think he knows that. So I think I take the team in a little bit different direction, but I think it's good to have new thinking, new blood come in. He's been a Flyer for a long time, and I think he'll do a great job. I really do.
Did his the situation with his son cause some hurdles, or is it kind of clearing?
Well, it's some unfortunate what happened there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's just another thing that he has to deal with in that. But
right,
Danny's a smart guy, and he'll make sure that the right things are done there.
Well, that's good. Hopefully he does address it, and the kid's certainly paying a price, and deservedly so. Yeah. But I'm sure Dad will take care of that too. Should be interesting. So, when you look back over the course of your career in hockey, how good has it been for you? Just everything. Well, when you look at the whole ball of wax.
Oh yeah, like I said, I never thought I was going to play in the NHL. I can remember as a kid, back when you're 5-6 years old, you get it down in front of the TV on a Saturday night, and then you hear that hockey night in Canada at 5:30. Yeah. You're sitting in there, and you're going to watch Montreal Canadiens play the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you're sitting in front of the TV, and you're riveted on it. And that's what I go back to thinking, wow, the NHL. I never thought I was ever going to play in the NHL. But, no, it's just that feeling.
You did.
You never thought, but as a kid, I never thought I was going to play in the NHL. We just went and played hockey to have fun. And like I said, later on, I was lucky enough that the path me took to the NHL, and I feel like a pretty lucky guy.
Yeah, and you are. And listen, I always tell Tim says, I only played 100 games. You get to the NHL one game, man. It's so difficult to get there, right?
No, honestly, Dave, when you spoke about how you felt lucky and stuff, I was like, man, it's pretty cool. I got to play too. That was awesome. No,
remember they used to say back in juniors that because there's a lot of kids there that said, oh, this kid's good, man. He's going to play in this, and they never played, right? Yeah. I think they said 2% of the players that played in across Canada had a chance of playing in the NHL. So most of those guys weren't playing in the NHL. There's not many people playing the NHL. So
you've had an awesome career. Your life is good now. You're happy with work, all that. If there's that one thing, and I'll leave you with it, that one thing that you'd say, that one bucket list thing in your life right now, what would it be?
You mean as far as what I would have done different with my career?
Just to top it off. If they had that one wish to just say this will top it all off, what would it be?
No, I'd like to win the Stanley Cup with the Flyers.
There you
No
go.
doubt. That's why I still want to win the Stanley Cup for the Flyers one more time. And I mean, I wasn't able to do it for Mr. Snyder, but I would still like to win the Stanley Cup with the Flyers. So that's why I'm still doing this.
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah.
That's the difference between a winner. I didn't win a Stanley Cup. All I thought about was like, I just want to play Augusta. Like, I just want to play a round of golf.
That's not bad either. That's tough to get on.
Yeah. Well,
that's awesome.
Listen, Dave Brown, this has been awesome getting together with you. I appreciate your patience and time. And I hope you get a chance to win that Stanley Cup again with the Flyers, but not before the Montreal Canadiens. You know?
Well, yeah, thanks. I really appreciate you having me on, and it was always a pleasure there. And it's always fun when we get together, Chris. And,
if you ever get up this way, you got my number. You got to let me know if you're ever in town scouting some of our
I'm gonna try and get
tougher
that.
players.
I'm going to try and do that. I'd love to do that, man.
Yeah, we'll get together. And here's the deal. If you want one of these, I'm going to reach out to the guy.
Okay.
You, when we get off, you can text me your full address, and I'll have him make you one and send it.
Okay.
Be a little memento of you and Knuckles, you with the no jersey. Should I have him put hair on your chest? There's no hair on your chest in this one. Oh, good stuff.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the RawKnux podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.